Okay, I've got a Kenmore Echo cycle. The problem is it's not spinning. It'll drain, it'll go back, the drum will go back and forth, but it won't enter the spin cycle. So it'll just end up, the time will go up, the pump will run, but it won't go into spin cycle. So I thought that the washer was done for, but I looked online and a lot of people were saying that it was the door switch. So door switches for these things are anywhere between $50 to $120. So I thought I'd take the door switch apart and see what was inside. So I'll show you what was inside, and I'll show you the results of what happened after I worked on it. So this is a common problem with these front loaders, the door switch. So before you get too into depth, unless you've got a complete control issue where lights are flashing all over, that could be a motherboard problem or a computer problem inside, which is repairable, but I'm not sure how much those cost. But this is just focusing on the door switch first to eliminate that problem. Now this will work on most, front loaders, I think. I don't know for sure, I haven't had a whole bunch of them apart, but this is a Kenmore Echo cycle, and I believe most of them are the same, because I know some of these door switches will go to Kenmore and all the Kenmore brands. I'm not sure about Maytag and all that. Okay, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you're unplugged, of course. You want to make sure there's no power going to the unit whatsoever. Not only for electrical shock to yourself, but you don't want to blow anything out by disconnecting something and causing a short. So make sure it's disconnected. And if you feel capable doing this yourself, do it. Otherwise, you could get your repairman, ask him questions if that could possibly be the door switch. Realize that there's sharp parts around here, so be careful what you're doing. Take your time, don't rush it. But if you think you can handle this yourself, this is how I did it. And of course, there's no guarantees that this will fix the problem, but it's definitely narrowing down the problem. Here's the steps. Open it up. You want to take these two screws off. Now there's two ways of doing this, getting this door switch out. You can either take the band off here. There's a band that goes around. You can access it from the bottom. You can either take that off, or you can take the top off the washing machine, as long as you don't have a dryer stacked up on top, or you can take it off. I find this is the easier way. But the first thing you do is take the two screws out here, go to the back of the washer, and there's two screws at the back. You want to remove that, and then the panel slides towards the back and pull up, and it'll pull the whole panel off for you. I've already got it off, so I'm not going to show that. But two screws at the back. If you don't have that, then you could take this off and unscrew these and put your hand in behind the rubber and pull this mechanism out. But the way I did it, I took those two screws off, and you'll see it down in there. There's a box right there, that box. That is the control switch. Once you take those screws off, you can just pull this up, and the leads will come up with it, and you just disconnect the three leads, pull it out. I'll show you the next step here, how to take it apart. Okay, so once you get those tabs apart, you want to pull it apart gently. Nothing will really fall out of here, everything's in place. Okay, so now what there is, if you can see here, there's these little tabs in here. And if you see right here, there's 2 points. Now sometimes these points, they'll get a little grit on them, and they won't, even if they get pushed together, they won't connect. This here is the plunger. Now the way this works is when the door is locked, get a better view here. When the door is locked, this gets pushed, this plunger, and that pushes these two leads together. If you can see behind my finger, pushes those two leads together. So if those leads aren't touching, or if there's grit in between them, it won't signal to go into probably the spin cycle. I'm guessing this is probably for the spin cycle. There's also another lead right under here, and that gets depressed when the door tabs go in here. So when you close the door, it expands those door tabs and brings this lead down and touches a small lead. You can see it right in there. If you look right in there, there's a small lead, so a top one on the bottom, and there's one on the bottom and one on the top. So you got to get a small file in there and just file ever so gently. You don't want to file too much, just enough to get the grit off. And then the same thing in here. Same thing in here, you want to get in there to get the grit off. Now you can't remove this one. You can't remove this one, of course, but you can remove these little guys here. So what I usually do is just remove one at a time and take a little nail file, works the best, and just file it so it's clean. And then put it back in. Like so. Now what I'm also going to do on this is I'm going to pull this one back out, this other one. And I just want to bend it up a little bit, not too much. Just a small amount. Just to give it a little more closer contact so when that pushes against. And then put it back in. If it's too close, just spread them out a little bit. See? Now when that plunger is all the way in, power gets sent to this, tells the plunger to go in and out. So when it's done its cycle, it'll tell this to retract. This will retract, leaving a gap in between of those two leads. When the door is closed and locked, this plunger will start pushing out and connect those leads. So just by adding that lead a little closer, you don't want them to touch, but bring them closer a little bit will sure make contact. You know it'll make contact when the plunger does come out. And the same thing for this. You may want to just tweak that just a little bit. Not too much, but just a small amount. Now if this pops out on you, that's okay. The way this goes in is this long piece goes under, and then that fits in, and that's your release. Just got to go into these two grooves here. You got to get it under the tab. Just like that. So that sits underneath the tab. Now when you click your door in, this releases to tell the system that the door has been closed. And then this will send a signal back to the washer to indicate that the door is closed and will make the light come on, the door lock. So I believe this is just to indicate that the door light is coming on. I believe these two leads over here will tell it to go into spin cycle. So if it's not going into spin cycle, probably these leads are dirty or they're too far apart. Over time they get dirty, or they don't connect as much. I also like to just clean up these two. These are where your connectors come in. I just go in and clean those up a little bit on each side. It's probably not going to do anything, but it's a good idea to do it. Same with this. Clean the top, bottom. You've done all you can. I mean, the only mechanical really part here that's electrical is this part here. And if your door is locking when you're going into your wash cycle, if your door is locking, then this is probably working. So that's not the issue. Everything else is pretty well, just mechanical, not electrical. So everything else should work. But I'm going to try this. I'm going to see if it'll now go into spin cycle. If the washer doesn't go into spin cycle, then it could be a computer issue in the washer. It still could be this. Don't get me wrong. I might have missed something, that maybe there's a coil in here that can go bad. But we're giving it the best shot we can, because these guys are about $80 to $100. So if we can fix it just by cleaning it up, why not? Okay, so just double check that you've got everything back in there. Everything looks good. This also here, when this plunger comes in, this tab comes down to lock these. Now this is what locks your door so that it can't spread apart. So if you're just wondering what that is, that locks your door. Okay, so then we'll put the cover back on, being careful not to disturb anything. There we go, the clip's in here. Okay, so installing it back together now. The clip is here, clip here, and there's that little tiny clip that automatically clips in. Just make sure you get it all nicely tight all the way around. Okay, so now we're ready back to install this and see if it works. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is connect these leads. Just start with the bigger one first. Make sure they're all the way in when they're clipped. Okay, now we're going to feed it down in here and open up the door. So we can feed it down here until we can get it into the door down here with our other hand. Okay, so it's a little tricky, but if you use your fingers here, you can get it in there. There, like that. Perfect. Now, the screws in. Now the first screw you get is a little tricky. You gotta hold the from the back so it doesn't push it through. Just so you can get it started. Don't tighten it right up until you get the other one in. Just snug like that. You definitely want to get these nice and snug, slight tight, because you don't want any movement when the door connects. Perfect. And then just double check your leads, make sure your leads are all connected, which mine are. There we go. So doing it this way, removing your top, then you don't have to worry about taking this rubber boot off here. But if you have to, there's a little metal clip in here, like a clip band that goes around. You can pull that off. I don't know if you can see it in there. You take that off, peel this back, and then you can access it through here. But I find it's easier just to remove the top of the washing machine. Okay, we'll test it and see if this solved the problem or not. Okay, I kind of surprised myself here, but I had a little doubts, but it worked. It's spinning. It's not going back and forth like it used to. All the lights are working. It's just spinning away. So that works. So if your washer, won't go in the spin cycle, chances are it's the door lock, and it's probably those leads, because all I really did was clean up the leads on that door lock. And I moved 2 tabs a little closer, like you see, and it worked. So I don't know how long this will work for. I'm sure it'll work for quite a while. But if it ever goes out again, you know that you'll need a new door switch. But or you could just clean up the leads again and try that. But it is spinning and it's going through its cycle. And there it is, really spinning. Good stuff. Please like if this helped you out and subscribe here.